Hey everybody, the purpose of this video is to help us through question 2.13.4, the D section in the Collaborative Statistics textbook. You might remember doing a few of the other lettered parts of this question before we attacked the center and the spread of the data back in the day. We're going to attack relative position now, and in this particular question it asks us to find the 40th and 80th percentiles. So let's do a quick review in our minds. A percentile is a ranking of data, and it's a simple percentage. When you get the percentage, that tells you the chunk of data, the percentage of data that the data point you're interested in is above. Or, said a different way, the percentage of data that the data point you're interested in exceeds. Or the percentage of data below your data point. However you want to say it, as long as you realize it's a cutoff. So let's take a look at the chart. Here's the distribution as given to us in the text. I did a third column over here, which is the cumulative percentages, the cumulative relative frequencies. And all that is, as you might remember, is the sum of the relative frequencies. So real quick, we'll go through this. 2% of folks said a middle class income was less than $20,000. Okay. 9% said it was somewhere between $20,000 and $25,000. That means 11% of folks said that a middle class income was $25,000 or less. And you can say 25 or less because this is the high point of this column, of this data range, including this one. It's also higher than that. You got to make sure these are in numerical order, just like you do with medians. So, 19% said the middle class income was between $25,000 and $30,000, which means 30% of those polled said it was at most $30,000, maybe less. 26% said it was between $30,000 and $40,000, which means 56% of those polled said it was no more than $40,000. So what you're seeing here are the percentages that voted for each of these ranges, but what you're seeing here is you're seeing the percentile ranks for those ranges. So what's the second percentile? The second percentile, $20,000. What's the 11th percentile? $25,000. What's the 30th percentile? $30,000. 56th? $40,000. Now this gets tricky. This gets slightly tricky, and we'll answer this one two different ways. This is only out of 94%. The reason for that is that only 94% responded to this question. There was a 6% non-response rate. Actually, it was a not sure rate. So, technically speaking, this is out of 94%, not 100%. You could adjust for that by making 94 100%, but I'm just going to choose to ignore that and say that 94% of Americans voted that a middle class income was $100,000 or less. That's not a very useful data point. That's not a very useful data point. And you could say that 100% of Americans that voted that a middle class income was $100,000 or less. I won't do that. We'll just simply use the percentages as given to us. Okay, but they asked us for the 40th and the 80th percentiles. Well, as you notice, 40 and 80 aren't over here. So we're going to extrapolate a little bit. We're going to extrapolate. Let's get some color. Yellow and blue. Okay, so 40, here's the 30th percentile, here's the 56th percentile. Okay, I'm going to call that 60 just to make the math easier. So 30 to 60 or 30% difference. I need to get to 40th percentile. Okay, that's about a third of the way from here to here. So, in other words, if I'm treating this as a 30% difference-ish, 30% difference, I've got to go a third of the way through the next data range to get to the percentile placement that I want to be at. This makes an assumption we'll come back to. So if I have to go a third of the way through this data range, I've got to come roughly a third of the way from 30 to 40. Okay, so that's going to be roughly 33, 34, somewhere in that ballpark. So you can say roughly $33,000 is going to be the dollar amount. That would be the 40th percentile. That would mean that 40% of Americans voted no more than $33,000 for a middle class income. Something similar we could do for the 80th percentile. Here's 75, just to make a nice number. 75, call this 90. Okay, so you're underestimating this one, and you're overestimating this one, underestimating that one. 75 to 90 is different by 15. Okay, and we've got to get the 80th percentile, which would be 1/3 of the way to get a 15, because you have to get the 5 percentage points higher than 75. So 1/3 of the way, we have to come 1/3 of the way up here. Well, 50 to 75 would, if we cut that into thirds, what's 1/3 of 25-ish? 8, maybe 8,000? So call it 58,000. So roughly the 80th percentile would be at 58,000. Clearly, the 74th percentile is at 50,000. The 91st percentile is at 75,000. So the 80th percentile is going to be roughly at $58,000. Now, the assumption this makes, I don't know why I grabbed this chalk. The assumption this makes is that the data points are uniformly distributed through these intervals. That's always an assumption you have to make when your data is given to you in grouped form like this. I mean, how else can you process it? If it's given to you in group form, it has to be given in exactly that form. So, that's my votes for the 40th percentile. What do we say it was? 40th percentile, about 33,000. And the 80th percentile to be about, we said it was like 58,000. If you need more precision, and you very well might need more precision. If you need more precision, what you could do is you could use Excel or some kind of a computer program to calculate a more precise result. But that gets you in a ballpark. And that's all I'm shooting for, is a ballpark of understanding. Especially when it comes to concepts like this. Hope that helped.